Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we are exploring a truly fascinating piece of the Alabama Standards for Early Learning and Development. We're zeroing in on early childhood social studies, unpacking the incredible journey of how young kids learn to belong and how they even begin to understand what a family structure is. If you're an early childhood educator, a practitioner, or honestly, just someone super passionate about child development, you are in the right place. This deep dive is absolutely for you.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start by redefining early social studies, then look at infants and the foundations of attachment. Next, we'll move on to toddlers with kinship and matching, explore how preschoolers understand diverse family structures, and finally, wrap up with culturally responsive classrooms. All right, Section 1, Redefining Early Social Studies, moving beyond maps and presidents.
I want to kick things off with a question that might seem, well, a little counterintuitive at first glance. How do you teach social studies to a 9-month-old? I mean, it sounds almost impossible, right? We are so used to associating social studies with memorizing state capitals or naming historical figures. But early learning, it completely flips this on its head. Okay, let's really dive into this. There is this massive misconception out there that social studies is just advanced history and geography, stuff that simply doesn't apply to a baby or a toddler. But the reality is completely different. In early childhood, social studies is literally the foundational study of identity, community, relationships, and the spaces we share. It's all about answering two absolutely core human questions: who am I and where do I belong? And you know what? That journey begins entirely within the immediate family structure before it ever expands out into the wider community systems. As the Alabama standards point out, an early childhood setting is often a child's very first introduction to life in a wider community outside their own home. It's like a stepping stone. When they work and play as part of this new little community, they're taking their very first steps into the larger world. They start to figure out that, hey, other people contribute different perspectives, different attitudes, and different cultures. And that early appreciation of others, that's exactly what sets them up to be successful in school and, honestly, in life. Let's transition to Section 2, Infants and the Foundations of Attachment, covering ages 0 to 12 months. Now, what's really fascinating here is how infant social studies relies entirely on sensory recognition and emotional security. Just think about the observable actions. Infants show us they belong by recognizing the voices, the faces, and yes, even the scents of their primary family members. They might naturally nestle into a familiar adult, or they might show some real distress when separated. So what are the best professional practices here? Well, educators need to provide consistency in caregivers. You want to mirror that stability they feel at home. A genuinely fantastic practice is simply asking parents to bring in a small comfort object, maybe a cloth infused with a familiar home scent. It seamlessly soothes the infant's sensory system. It works like magic.
Here's a great example of turning those standards into real hands-on classroom action. It's the Infant Mirror Photo Mobile Lab activity, and it directly aligns with the standard for facial recognition and secure attachment. As the infant lies on their playmat, reaching up or tracking the mobile, they're looking at high-contrast photos of their own family on one side and their own reflection in a child-safe mirror on the other. It is a literal visual bridge connecting the baby's reflection right to the faces of their primary support system. It's just a brilliant, tangible way to reinforce that emotional stability during floor play or diaper changes.
All right, Section 3, Toddlers, Kinship and Matching, covering 12 to 36 months. Let's see how this builds from the infant stage. Toddlers are active, right? They start pointing to and actively naming family members in physical photos. You'll hear them using all sorts of diverse kinship terms like mama, papa, nana, abuela. And it's so beautiful to watch them start imitating daily family routines in their open-ended play. Rocking a baby doll or pretending to cook. The standard guides us to support this by creating durable, laminated My Family books that these little ones can actually grab and handle themselves. As a teacher, you can jump in and verbally narrate connections, saying things like, "Oh wow, your daddy wears boots just like these dramatic play shoes." Now here is a really clever classroom blueprint for this age group, the Toddler Kinship Matching Mat. It's a real game changer. By taping clear adhesive pouches to a low table or even directly onto the rug, you create this super durable matching surface. Parents submit snapshots, and the toddlers get to physically take a loose photo of Dada or Auntie and match it to the permanent image stuck on the mat. This actively scaffolds their symbolic representation. Plus, it honors their specific kinship naming structures right there in their active learning workspace.
It makes the abstract concept of family wonderfully tactile and real for them. Moving on to Section 4, Preschoolers and Diverse Family Structures, from 3 to 5 years old. At this stage, you really notice a clear shift. Older preschoolers are confidently describing what their family members do. They'll tell you, "My mom goes to work at the store." And they start comparing their own family setups with their peers. They suddenly realize, "Oh, you have a big sister like me, but I have a baby and you don't." The educator's role here is absolutely crucial. You have to facilitate intentional, open conversations that normalize these varied configurations. Whether we're talking about co-parenting households, grand families, foster care, or single parents, the goal is to protect an anti-bias space. Every single configuration should feel like just a normal part of the classroom fabric, totally without tokenizing anyone. To help facilitate this, the Who is in My House activity is a phenomenal tool. Here's how it works. Preschoolers head to the block center and pick out loose wooden peg dolls that represent every single individual living in their current home network. Then, they build a house out of blocks, scaled perfectly to fit their specific peg family group. What I absolutely love about this is how brilliantly it merges mathematical spatial awareness, actually building the structure, with our core social studies target standard. The kids get to visually explore structural variance. They see firsthand that everyone's house looks a little bit different and nobody feels isolated. It's fantastic. Finally, Section 5, Culturally Responsive Classrooms, Building Anti-Bias Environments. So the crucial point to take away here is that a true cultural enrichment approach uses a family's home culture as its very foundation. And simple physical environment adaptations make a massive difference. I'm talking about the whole shebang, including real objects like actual pots and pans in the dramatic play area, providing diverse dolls and bilingual books, establishing dependable daily routines, using visual reminders for boundaries like tape on the floor, and of course displaying real family photos to construct a class family tree. When young kids see themselves and their families accurately reflected in their environment, their self-concept is deeply enhanced. They truly feel understood. To make sure you can apply this right away, here's a highly practical administrative action step straight from the workshop blueprints. Before your next planning period, make sure you log into your Canvas sandbox and download the Welcome Family Photo Invitation Letter template. Print it out and stick it right into your parent intake folders. This guarantees you gather those essential family photos right at the start of the year, so you can immediately dive into creating those matching mats and mobile activities we just talked about. I want to wrap up our explainer today with a really powerful quote drawn directly from the ethos of these standards. Family is a child's first window into the social world. By embedding a child's authentic family structure directly into your daily routines, your classroom nonverbally communicates this incredibly resonant message. Who you are and where you come from is valued here. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought to chew on. Take a look around your own learning environment tomorrow morning. Ask yourself, does it clearly and proudly communicate that message to every single child who walks through your door? Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and keep making a difference out there.